One of the biggest resorts in the world, Walt Disney World, has stayed on top of its game when it comes to being the king of parks due to its incredible amount of space. I mean, it is kind of the size of San Francisco, but its counterpart on the West Coast does not have the same luxury, only being able to squeeze in with barely enough space for 2 parks. But thanks to some things, Disneyland can finally get the expansion it's been waiting for. When Disneyland first opened in 1955, it had 160 acres to work with only half of it really being used for a park, and the other half being used for future expansion, and they did use some of that land for an on-site hotel and parking lots as well. As the park gained a ton of popularity and they opened its sister park in Orlando, Magic Kingdom, Disney began looking for ways to expand the park. One of the original things they did was the new Tomorrowland overhaul. But as the Orlando resort grew, the Anaheim one didn't, only adding some attractions here and there. But when Disney added Epcot and Hollywood Studios to Walt Disney World, corporate, aka Michael Eisner, finally decided it was time to give Disneyland its coveted second park. As they were brainstorming, they decided to actually scrap some pretty neat ideas, including Disney Sea, which would have been on the coast and would feature many areas. This idea was scrapped due to noise and traffic, but would later be evolved into the Disney Sea we know in Disney's Tokyo Resort. The second big scrapped idea would be a West Coast version of Epcot, otherwise known as Westcott, which is an interesting name. But it would feature a ball larger than the one in Florida that I think would have held multiple attractions inside. I think this would have been a spectacle to look at, but it was, as we know, scrapped due to the same complaints as well as the light that would have come off the sphere. Then executives, insert Michael Eisner again here, looked at the state of California itself and were like, you see all of those cool landmarks that people come here for? What if we just ball those up and make them worse? And make that a park. So that's how California Adventure was born in 2001. This park opened up with some interesting attractions to say the least and some very mixed reviews. I'm looking at you, Superstar Limo, but I will say what is known as Pixar Pier today, it has some fun attractions like Canobie Coaster. This park wasn't destined for greatness, as designing a park themed to California itself seems pretty ridiculous. I think they would have had a cool concept if they went with the history of California instead of the landmarks. But that used up most of what was left of the original 160 acres. They had some attempts to fix the park with some varying levels of success, with Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout being one of my favorite non-coaster attractions. It even beats the original Tower of Terror for me. But then there's Avengers Campus. As the resort was out of space in the growing LA suburbs, there really was no notable expansions from there. But in early 2024, there was some big news about a $1.9 billion expansion to this park thanks to a ton of land. This would also add 50% more attractions to the area, but would only grow the 2 existing parks with some concept art with what would be like the California version of Pandora, the World of Avatar, which I have to say looks pretty cool. But the one thing I've seen no one talk about is the bottom of the corner of the map, where you can see this little thing with an arrow pointing to it that says, a new kind of Disney entertainment. Could include theme park, hotel, retail, dining, entertainment. Anybody else hear that? Could include theme park. But that's not it, folks. There's another thing just sitting there where we could all see it. Another arrow pointing directly to the existing area where the Disneyland Hotel sits saying, proposed immersive park. Don't know what that means. But off of the website concept art, it gives us 2 places for a new park. Now, it's just concept art, so it could maybe not happen. But just think about a new park there. If there weren't to be a new park, it would probably go through the same thing as California Adventure had to go through. But for the rest of the video, let's see what I think will be coming to the expansion. We already know that Avatar would be most likely coming to this expansion, but what other things could we see? I think some very likely options could be a frozen land like the one in Paris, or a Zootopia like the one in Shanghai. I could even see a Tron coming to one of these expansions. Don't know how, but I can. One thing that I could most definitely not see coming, sadly, is a clone of Cosmic Rewind. This just wouldn't make sense to the controlled spinning coaster, drift coaster, coming to Universal Hollywood in 2026. A few other land ideas would be putting Toy Story Land here. I know that they already have Toy Story Mania and California Adventure, but Disney isn't afraid to build lands away from attractions with the IP that already exists in the parks. Just look at Galaxy's Edge and Star Tours in the same resort. Star Tours is all the way in Tomorrowland. But in actuality, I don't even really care what comes to this new area, as long as it's really cool, and I trust that Disney will make it really cool. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please subscribe. I only post theme parks and roller coasters here. So anyway, yep, that's going to do it for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.